Well, hello, neighbor. Welcome back to yet another interview with Heyven. My name is Marcus Stiles. I'm the founder of Heyven. And as you all know, Heyven is a virtual neighborhood for creators, businesses, and nonprofits to be able to connect with the people, partner, and resources that they need to thrive. And today, I am joined by Liana Jacobson of Radically Aligned Bodywork. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing so good. I've been so excited to hear. So, what's the story behind becoming the Liana Jacobson that we know today?
It's a really long story because I'm kind of an older lady. So Radically Aligned Bodywork is primarily a Thai therapy studio. I also do private yoga and private Pilates. And it really came out of I just was always someone who always liked moving. Anytime I'd ever tried to have a desk job or anything like that out of college, I would kind of lose my mind after about 6 months because it wasn't like I needed to be moving. I really needed that kinetic energy in order to feel really fulfilled. So I started teaching yoga when I was 19, and which was maybe entirely too young. And from there, I spent few years traveling. I taught all over the country teaching yoga. Came back to Minnesota about 10 or 12 years ago, um, and noticed that the yoga teacher market was really flooded. But at the same time, there was kind of an inaccessibility to yoga. It was always very fitness based. There was maybe less of that meditation quality to it until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I've noticed. But it was really inaccessible to a lot of people. Or people would go to like a core power class or something like that, and they would come out of it really frustrated. They said they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't see things. The teacher wasn't really slowing down enough for them to do it. And so I saw that there was kind of a little bit of a disconnect between this big community and maybe people who could really benefit for it. So in 2020, I decided to go out on my own and open my own practice. And I started out just doing private yoga. And I really wanted to create an accessibility point for people. So I was having people in, they weren't just doing a yoga class while I taught them. We were spending time breaking down every single little part and answering their questions and creating confidence for them so that they could go to these larger group classes where maybe that wasn't being done and feel safe and secure and confident in what they were doing and get the results that they were looking for, whether it was physical, mental, or emotional. From there, I decided, I was like, okay, yoga's great. There were some things going on that in the larger community that I felt a little disconnected from that came out of 2020 stuff. And that's when I decided to become a mat Pilates instructor as well. It just added another level of accessibility. It helped people manage, I don't want to say fully manage their pain, but like it helped them manage their pain a little bit more, especially with a lot of the back injuries that were coming in because it was such deep core work. And taking that kind of spiritual component out created even more accessibility for people who were maybe uncomfortable with that spiritual component in yoga. Um, and even from there, I noticed that there were people where like maybe those kinds of movements still weren't accessible to them. And so I went back to school to become a Thai therapist. And that is where I'm doing kind of all the work for the client. They get to lay on the mat, I move them around, and they get a lot of the benefits they would out of yoga and Pilates when they maybe can't touch their toes, but I can do it for them. And so that was my journey to this business.
It sounds like you went from like being the stress person to being the stress reliever.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear kind of like where you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. And then you just like fall into something that's so. I've been learning so much more about the wellness space and just how it's just all so linked to stress and how much stress that we don't have to like carry.
Mhm.
But for the folks who are watching who haven't heard about you yet, how would you describe what you do or the specific services that you offer?
So, Thai yoga therapy is kind of the mystery service that I offer. So it's not quite massage and it's not quite yoga and it's not quite acupuncture. It's a little bit of all of these things. So it's not done on a table, it's done on a big mattress on the floor. And that allows me to kind of get up and over people in a way to distribute pressure on the body that's maybe a little bit easier, not only on them, but on me. It's given me a lot of longevity in this career. Then I also do acupressure. So I'll do like these really deep pressure movements on people to really get the tissue warm. And then we do acupressure. So I'm using thumbing techniques and going along these channels in the body just to kind of open those up deeper. We look for things, what we would call in Eastern medicine, we would refer to as energetic blockages, right? In more modern Western culture, an energetic blockage would be like a knot in the muscle, right? And when you have a knot in your muscle, you're impeding blood flow. You're impeding the ability to get the nerve conduction through there as quickly. So I look for those kinds of things. And then we go even bigger, and I'm physically moving joints. So, like, I'll pick up legs and move them in circles and stretch them in different ways and apply pressure in different points in order to kind of get the body to its optimum physical alignment. And when you have that, you're going to have improved blood flow, improved oxygenation, improved nerve conductivity, all of those things that will make you feel better overall. And when you have that overall physical feeling of being better, everything else starts to be just a little bit more manageable. If you're on medication for your mental health, those might start to work better. If you're on medication for other physical things like cholesterol or blood pressure, those things might start to work even better because you've done this physical alignment.
That's really interesting. I have always gotten a traditional massage just because it's an irrational fear, but I have a hard time trying new things sometimes. And other things like poking like my body have like scared me a little bit, but like hearing you and how like stress relieved I would be makes me more enticed to try it. But with there being a lot of professionals in the wellness space, like what makes you stand out in the work that you do on people's bodies?
I think one of the things that I bring to the table is that I think there's a lot of, and like I see things in a lot of shades of gray. And I also don't feel like there's only one solution to a problem. Like your wellness is going to be based on maybe 10 or 12 different things that you are kind of using to help manage your life so that you can show up the best that you can. And I come to the table fully understanding that I'm just going to be a component of it and that whatever I do is only going to augment or offset other things that you're doing. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I like to refer people to other practitioners then. I've had a couple of people come in, we've tried it, it's not doing the thing that they were hoping it was going to do. I was like, you know what? Then maybe it's not me and it's not the service. It's you need somebody else and you came here to see me so that you could get this name. So I feel like having that kind of like
And
non-attachment. What's that?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think the word integrity.
Yeah. Makes people feel a little bit safer and more comfortable in coming into these spaces because there are practitioners who will just hammer. And I used to be in practices like that where we hammered the one thing is going to fix everything. And that's just not realistic.
As someone who consistently has gotten massages and like understand the effects, I feel like sometimes it can really feel like you can only go to one place for it, and a lot of people don't make it not accessible. That's not the word, but like available for you to try things out. I feel like whenever you're with a doctor, it's kind of like, well, you chose me, and then you like get me, and it's like, well, no, I gotta like test things out and see which one. So I like that you do that. What is something that people may not realize until they work with you?
A lot of times you'll go to massages and things and people just want to be completely silent. And I do offer those appointments. I do offer silent appointments, but I want to talk to people the whole time they're there. I want to know what like more of people's histories and stories and not just about like their pain or why they're coming in, but like what weird thing did you get into last weekend, right? Because like I find people to just be interesting, and we are so much bigger than the one thing, right? Like I always tell people the least interesting thing about me is my career. I have so many more things that I've done with my life or going on in my life that I think are more interesting. And I know that the least interesting thing about you when you come to see me is your pain, is your anxiety, is your depression, anything like that. Like those are going to be the least interesting things about you. So what else are you doing?
I like that about you. I think it's really good when you can feel like you can be a friend with someone who's helping you with your wellness. I think that there's this unspoken rule that just feels so good when you're with someone who gets it and they see you and you don't have to like over explain it. They're just like, I get it. It was
Yeah.
a fun, it was hot. I understand.
Or even so I've had it happen too, where like people will be telling stories to me. Like I had a client a few years ago and they were coming in to see me more for some stuff related to like a physical injury. And as we were working on it, and it was they had played softball when they were younger. And as we were working on it, I was like, "Oh, you have a tattoo in that spot." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I got a tattoo with like someone that I thought was my forever friend." And then we had this falling out and we started talking about it. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, did you know?" Like, and their mom had passed away a few years prior. They're like, "My mom actually had an injury in this same spot." And one of the conversations that we were talking about, I was like, maybe it's time to cover that tattoo then. Like, maybe it's time to like get something to honor your mom. And it all kind of came together. Like, my mom had this same injury. This relationship has evolved in a way that I didn't expect it to. And I would like to, commemorate my mom in a different way. But also, I need to like move this tattoo to a new place. So, even because we were just like having this casual conversation, all of those things came together. And I just think that's really fascinating and special.
I've been loving these like studies that have showed the things that have carried down, not only just like within our blood and genes, but like how our bodies are like carried down. Because like for me personally, my dad on his right knee, he's had a whole bunch of surgeries and all of this stuff from like basketball and just living life in normal wear and tear. And both me and my sister have knee problems because we're both dancers and
Mm-hmm.
we hurt our knee at one point, and now we just have this like continuous like problem of, you know, spending our days just like walking around with like aching knees and stuff like that, and it's all because of my dad.
Right? Like there's that degenerative piece too. And I had that like a few weeks ago. So when I was in high school, my mom had a bunch of back injuries and back surgery. And that was part of the reason that I got as interested, especially in Pilates as I did, because it did help take a lot of the pressure off my back. And I was having some back pain. I got married last weekend, and so like leading up to it, I was like constantly moving and not as healthy as I normally am, and not drinking as much water and all of those things. And I started to have back stuff, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to have like my spine fused like my mom did, without even having like a cool story behind it.
And then you just go into a huge panic of like Pilates every day, Pilates, Pilates. Yeah, I get it.
Right, all the time. But once our wedding was over and we got home, like my back pain has resolved itself, and I think a lot of it was just stress. Like, planning a wedding's a lot of work.
So, while I can't follow you around all day, what is a typical day in a life with for you?
So, in addition to my studio, I am also a bookkeeper, and I work in accounting and intellectual property. So I'm up at 5 o'clock usually. That's when I work out. That's when I have my coffee. Nobody else in my house is awake. And 8 a.m. I do have a private yoga client or private Pilates client. So I teach Pilates with her 8 to 8:30, and we do that online. So I do offer a lot of my services virtually. Then I usually go to my office, whether it's remote or I do go to my office in Edina once a week, and I do accounting from 9 to 2. Do play with numbers, to other accountants in other countries. We help get a lot of really interesting things patented all over the world, which is kind of cool. So I've got some cool insider information on things that are being licensed and patented and trademarked because we work in the pharmaceutical world.
As an entrepreneur, I have to say one thing that we have to do, like all of us, we all have to do it. We need to have like one thing that kind of like detaches our brain from like what we're doing. I'm kind of like looking for like mine because like being able as an entrepreneur to not have to do your job like 24/7 and being able to be like, well, I have to switch it off to like do this. I don't know. In a sense, it kind of like I don't know. I'm looking for like that thing that like takes me away from, my normal day to day. Cause like I'll just be like designing and I'll just be, doing photos and stuff like that. And I'm like, I need to do like another reception job or like something that's like within my wheelhouse, but is a little different. So I like that you do that.
Yeah.
Also, those 5 a.m. workouts, my favorite. I love a good 5 a.m. workout. I have not been able to do those recently because I got a dog and he's like, well, then if you're up, I'm up, and we're going to the bathroom. I'm like, I need to go to the gym first. Me and him are negotiating.
It gets better.
I really do hope it does. But I know that everyone has their favorite form of communication. What is the best way to reach you?
Usually Instagram. If we haven't connected personally, I love hearing from people on Instagram. And once people have been in my office once, they have my business line and they'll get a number that they can text back and forth on. Yeah, that's how people usually reach me is they find me on Instagram.
Well, that's really good to know. Now the question of the day that everyone loves to answer: what is the song that perfectly describes your business?
That perfectly describes my business. Okay, so this is like on the top of my mind to begin with because it was our recessional song at our wedding, but She's a Rainbow by the Rolling Stones.
That sounds like a good song. I haven't heard
Yeah.
it yet. After.
Because it like looks at someone as a very multifaceted person. And that's what I like to do.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a listen and I'll send you a text. The last thing I'm wondering is me and you both serve so many people and we try to make whatever we do like accessible, right? What is one thing you love about the people that you serve in your community?
I would say the people that I serve in my community are all also some kind of service provider. They are constantly giving of themselves. And so I love that I'm able to give to them for an hour or two every few weeks.
Just being with people that are just like around you and so loving is so fulfilling. So I'm really glad that you're out here running your business and there are so many businesses here in Minnesota. I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure you say hey to Radically Aligned and, bye neighbor. We'll see you soon.